Hey there, and welcome to hell. My name is Trevor, and this is Luke. We're both wearing grey. Is that setting the scene of what our mood's like after the Heidenheim game, or is it just a very sad, pathetic, colourless coincidence?
Well, it's light grey, which I think might actually reflect the match because it
We
wasn't
just
all.
split hairs.
Yeah, it wasn't all doom and gloom.
I mean, I thought it's good, to be fair. We looked very promising. Like, a lot of the things we have complained about wasn't perfect, but it was a lot better. So, clean sheet, right? I mean, how many times have we been able to say that this season? I think it's the first one. Is it the first one?
First one since our last win, the 3
Yeah,
0
against
against Magdeburg.
against Darmstadt, was it 3-0?
The Magdeburg match, I think it was.
Magdeburg, yeah, that's one. So first home clean sheet in a while, and defence did what they needed to do, except for rattling the crossbar. They were pretty much confined to scraps. Do you remember them really testing us much at all?
No, not really. As you said, they hit the bar obviously, but other than that, they didn't really pose much of a threat at all.
Heinz had like a snapshot at the end of the first half where he had that instinct, right? It's like that striker killer instinct. He'd done pretty much nothing all game, and the ball came to him at knee height. He kneed it to the floor and just turned and swiveled and shot, which had your man Vasil scarping across. Bester had a few long range strikes early on as well, but other than that, this is a team that's struggling for goals as well. They've scored the same number as us. They just conceded way fewer. So it just goes to show how important defence is.
Well, their XG for this match was 0.4, so that should tell you they didn't have many great opportunities at all. And just for reference, our XG was 1.3, so there's a bit of a gap. That should also tells you that we probably had the better of the game. It was even. A 0-0 is probably fair at the end of the day, but I think we had the better chances. Amiedo had a couple. Eggestein had one. Just a shame we can't put them away. It's the same old story. Matanovic at the very end and the last minute. Metcalf with the header. Oh yeah. How did you say it?
Yeah, right. When you think about it, they build up, and there's lots of promising signs there. Is again you just touched upon it very, very briefly. Not being able to finish it, but it's coming. Like being able to create chances.
It's that same old story we've talked about on this podcast many times before, that our good performances just aren't being rewarded with goals and 3 points. It's unfortunate, but the big takeaway for me from this is that it's a step in the right direction.
For sure, I felt positive, even though it's a 0-0 draw. I felt positive. I was like, okay, right, cool. Things are turning. We could have scored and things could have gone better, but it did feel like a bit more cohesive, and they tried a lot more, and there was a certain game plan. It wasn't just too much of hidden hope and a little bit of disconnection. Such as a wee bit more planned.
Yeah, and you mentioned it there. They fought really hard for each other. The team cohesion was there. There seemed to be a really strong team spirit in this match. Maybe they rallied because they were without their two captains, with Jackson Irvine suspended and Pacarata injured. Even without their two captains, you could tell that everybody was given 100% on that pitch. Nobody left anything. They were out on their feet after as well. A couple of players just collapsed.
Everyone just fell to the floor, didn't they? Yeah. It looked like it'd been a cup final loss or something, the way some of the guys just collapsed to the floor. But that shows that they care, and that's just as important as a result.
I know the devil's advocates will say that that's the bare minimum that you expect from a team, is to give it their all, but that's not always the case. So it's definitely a positive, and we just have to find that killer instinct in front of goal, and we'll finally get rewarded for these good performances. It's a shame because we did have the opportunities today. It's just I never even there's none of the strikers that I feel confident are gonna start scoring. Whenever Amanido went 1-on-1 with the keeper, I knew he wasn't gonna score. The one
that first one
with his left foot, it might be the worst shot on I've ever seen in my entire life. It was
bearing down on goal.
If you haven't seen it,
yeah. Oh man,
it nearly goes out for a throw in. It was
right.
So bad. I think he kicked the ground or something because
I think I was trying to give the benefit of the doubt that he got caught in two minds because Eggestein was in the middle, I think it was. But he wasn't paying attention to that. He was just looking at goal. You can see what he's trying to do, open his body and whip it around the keeper into the far side, right? But it didn't go to plan.
Yeah, there's a big gulf between what idea he had and what actually got executed. Cause,
maybe seen it on FIFA or in someone else do it. Or maybe does it in the training ground every other day, right? We just don't know. But it didn't happen on this occasion. And unfortunately,
no, you're 100% right about that FIFA thing. It's the finesse shot that if you play FIFA, you know all about it. We finesse top corner. That's what he was trying, but Christ, that did not come off. It was awful. But he ran his arse off, as did Eggestein.
It was weird.
It's just a lack of quality
in the first half. Yeah, it seemed a bit clumsy sometimes. Like the ball was ricocheting off him, and he's trying some things like passes or like drag backs, but then he's being tackled, and the ball was falling very fortuitously to Eggestein or to Bukalfa or something. It's like, okay, great, looks on our side today. That's nice, but we can make it work still. So it's a step in that direction. Okay.
Yeah, and as you said, so Bukalfa started this match, which was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah. I mean, I think we talked about it last week, but we said more along the lines of Conor Metcalfe maybe stepping in instead. But yeah, Bukalfa came in. He actually looked pretty good, to be fair.
Yeah, he did. There were 3 changes overall from the last match. Saliakas started at right back, Nemeth centre back, alongside Medic. Ritska came in at left back for Paka. Vasij obviously kept his place. And it was a 4-4-2.
Smash was on the bench, though. Did you notice?
He was, yeah. And he was, even before the match, he was having a pretty long, intense conversation with Vasij. So I don't think he's got the hump and he's completely thrown in the towel at losing a spot. And he seems to be, trying to help out Vasij, and even though they're competing for the same spot, obviously.
Yeah.
So we went with the 4-4-2 in front of the back four, where Eric Smith and Afiz Aramu. So they played a double six. They were absolutely brilliant. Eric Smith got the armband in the absence of Jackson Irvine. And then either side of them, on the right-hand side, we had Bukalfa, left-hand side, Hartle, and up front were Eggestein and Amanido.
Yeah. It was pretty solid. Like, straight me off, except for a few long-range chances. We managed to stymie them throughout the entire game. We still created some stuff, and there was nerves or rustiness or something from Afiz, where giving the ball away or losing it or trying too much and such, but he grew into it quite strongly. So I think he went off with cramp in the end. Was it cramp, or he pulled a muscle or something as he overran the ball and then tried to slow down for the ball to catch up with him? He seems to have done something to himself, so hopefully he's okay. Or is Jackson Irvine back next week?
Jackson will be back next week. I don't. Okay. Afiz and Smith and that double six were great. Don't get me wrong, but Jackson's going straight back into that team. Obviously, you've got to have your captain in there, and he's a goal threat as well, which we desperately need.
Yeah,
but Eric Smith really stepped up.
There was. I thought he was on the pitch at one point, like as was Eric Smith pinged it to the back post in the second half, and an Australian rose like a salmon and nutted it past the far post. It's the other Australian though. It's Mr. Metcalfe.
Yeah, Metcalfe came on around about the hour mark. I thought he made a difference as well. I would really like to see him given an opportunity from the start, because he gets into good spaces, and anytime he gets on, he seems to have at least one or two opportunities, and that's not just luck. His awareness is very good. His positioning's great. He's already scored this year as well with a nice finish.
I was mentioning as well that when we don't have somebody who's got that instinctive, like Kleindienst into the first half, gets the ball down, strikes. And as I was saying, that's like, Connor Metcalf, he's got that instinct. He's get the ball down now and he's going to shoot. And he did the exact same. It was from 25, 30 yards out and it went wide and way over or something. But it was a strike. But then he laid it off to Matanovic in the final stages. He was a better option than Amenido when Amenido was offside and flicked it past the post in the second half. And I think he had another strike or two. So he as you say, he came on in 30 minutes. He made such an impact. And he worked hard too. It wasn't just goal threat. It was also the level of the pitch level of the effort across the pitch.
I think it was actually him who started that attack in the last minute that ended up with a Matanovic shot getting cleared off the line. I might be wrong, but I think he played like a really incisive ball into the striker's feet, and that's how it all got going.
Right, okay,
which is great. A bit of he's quite direct, which is good because we're known for keeping possession and passing it about until it gets to one of the attackers who loses it, and all of a sudden we're getting countered. So it's
don't
good to have
get me wrong.
somebody
It's good to keep the ball sometimes, and slow the game down and take the sting out of the opposition, etc. And just get a feel for the ball. But there's other times where you just need to decision making, right? Know when the right time to do that, such as, and we did that a few times yesterday, which is good. Just nice, incisive balls forward. Eric Smith did a couple, and when Connor Metcalf came on, he did a few himself as well. So it was reassuring that we're not just sit back and hope long ball merchants, because there was a phase where we were just doing that. It's just hitting the ball up and hoping to hit Matanovic, because he came on and our game kind of changed a wee bit. It's just, okay, Matanovic is up top, let's just lump it the fuck up to him and hope it gets near him and he can win it. And it's like, that's not going to work. As soon as the ball went into his feet in the 92nd minute or something, and he was able to lay it off and then make a run, we were able to make something from it. So he can play, he's a good player. It's just sometimes his touch, very, very Lukaku-esque, right? So sometimes his touch is a bit questionable, but you can't just keep lumping up to him and hoping he's going to make some like miracles out of nothing.
Yeah, but I wouldn't mind seeing him start the next match. I don't know if it's just like just because he's not starting, it's a bias where you always think that the grass is greener and the one on the bench is gonna find the back of the net. But I do like that he offers something different. He's a different profile to our other options.
So say, for example, he does, because I was thinking that too, he does start the next game. Who starts alongside him?
You would have to go Eggestein, right? Even though
Eggestein? Did he do enough yesterday?
Scored. He probably did just as much as Amenido. The only difference being that Amenido had the better of the opportunities and he didn't take them.
That's fair. I don't know. I would have gone with Amenido just because of the contrast between the two styles.
Well, to be fair, we know the Matanovic Eggestein partnership up top. We've seen it multiple times already this season.
Yeah.
I don't think Amenido and Matanovic have played much up top together. So it might be worth, just trying every combination of attacker we can possibly put out there and hope that one of them
trial and error. Yeah. Well, Eggestein's partnered with everybody now. So Otto, Amenido, Dashner, yeah, of course, right? Everybody. Yeah, fair enough. Maybe that's why I thought Amenido instead with Matanovic.
Worth a shot, because that's all we can do until the January transfer window opens and we have a chance of signing a player that we can rely on to score goals consistently, as we can't do that with any of our strikers right now.
Yeah, I don't think any of those guys come cheap, though, to be fair, because everyone want to keep hold of their proven goal scorers. Like I was watching Scottish football results the other day. My Scottish team is Aberdeen because I studied there, and I saw they've got this North Macedonian fella up front they got for peanuts, who's, I can't remember his name, but he scored 8 in 10 games or something. So someone like that, that's what we need, like a diamond in the rough, someone who plucked from complete obscurity. It's a huge risk, of course, or teams like Aberdeen that in financial ruin, they can just go in and be like, all right, I'll give you 200,000 for him. Okay, deal.
Yeah, it's just trying to find someone who's can play at this level as well. It's not an easy league, the Zweite Bundesliga. Yeah. So I don't think we can really go into the market looking for another player with promise who has potential, but we're not sure whether it's going to work out or not because we need goals this season. We can't wait for them to integrate and get up to the pace of the league.
How would you approach it? Like, say, for example, your Schultz's networking team or whatever, or a scout network. Do you look for the league below? Do you look for similar leagues in other European countries?
So you would have to look at the league below, as you said, and also leagues of a similar standard that maybe don't get as much, teams don't have as much revenue, so that, you know, this is going to St. Pauli would be an attractive option for the player. Like, for example, we were linked with that French striker at the end of the window. Yeah. And I think he was playing second division France, which would be of a similar standard, but I still think St. Pauli would generate more revenue. They'd have higher attendances every week than pretty much every team in the second division France, I would assume. Yeah. Might be talking out my arse here. If anybody out there wants to put me in my place and correct me, feel free to do so.
I'm willing to back you up on that one. I can't think of many, but at the same time, I want to distance myself from you just in case you're wrong. So just so it's known, I'm not completely backing you up. Well, I mean, would you consider a loan from one of the bigger teams like Dortmund, or if they have not necessarily a Makuku or something, but a young, promising striker, or from Manchester City or something? Would that be interesting enough, or is it a loan from as a feeder club, not St. Pauli way?
I mean, I would definitely take a loan if it's the right player. The only problem is even a youngster on City's books or Dortmund's books is going to be earning more than the strikers we're currently paying. So it could be tricky to get a deal done there. I also like.
But you can offer everything else, so full stadium, competitive football, likely to play, that kind of stuff, right? So it's probably more interesting to a Man City-esque. I'm not saying Man City because I don't know who they've got, but a Premier League team or a Bundesliga team, rather than playing in the second league and playing against under 23 teams or B teams and such.
But again, it gets back to that problem of then you're signing a player who has promise, but you have no idea whether they're capable of scoring goals at this level. And if they're a youngster as well, they probably don't have much experience at the adult level. So they're coming up against Zweite Bundesliga centre backs. It's a baptism of fire, especially if you're getting thrown in there after a January window and everyone's looking at you to score goals for this team with huge aspirations, or who came into the season with big aspirations anyway.
I guess
I would prefer to go for
one more problem. It needs to be like a proven kind of scenario. We can't afford another hopeful situation.
Yeah, exactly. I think we need to talk about a moment in the match that could have changed everything in the first half. Yeah. Geibel's tackle on Saliakas.
Man, like flying, that could have broken the poor guy's ankle and then we'd be completely ruined. But yeah, that was mad. Why did the referee check the VAR or something? It seemed yellow card, very adamant, wasn't even going to change or consult it. Or do you think the VAR guys checked it? It was like, yeah, we're happy with the yellow.
Yeah, that's what would have happened, but I just have no idea how they can come to that conclusion if they've ever seen a football match before and have a set of working eyes, then they should know that that's a red card.
Well, I mean, Saliakas got sent off for something similar, but way worse against Streilen, if you remember.
That's right.
It's a late tackle. It was nowhere near as high and stuff, but it was less aggressive and stuff as well. And he got a straight red for that.
This was a hard tackle. Like he left his feet. He was studs up. He was ankle high, and he made contact. It was if Saliakis' foot was planted, it's an ankle breaker, you know.
Yeah.
And the really worrying thing is that the referee took his time even blowing his whistle for a free kick. He was just
true.
It's mental. Like if it wasn't for the reaction of our bench and the players on the pitch, he might not have even given a fucking free kick for this.
God.
One of the worst tackles I've seen all season.
Yeah.
And then what's the point in having VAR if they don't ask him to go to a monitor and check that? Because I guarantee if he gets asked to go to a monitor and check that, he changes his decision, gives him a straight red.
Yeah, you'd hope so, because it was pretty vicious. I mean, fortunately, Saliakas was okay. That's the main thing, right? But it could have seen Geipel taken off and us having a man advantage with 45, 60, 70 minutes of the game left to play.
Yeah, this happened in the 23rd minute. So you would have to assume that then Heidenheim would just try and park the bus and sit back and absorb pressure and try and get out of there with a draw. Certainly would have given us a boost and extra motivation to get players forward. I think that's a real game changer, that decision. It's not the first time we've had bad referee calls this year. I'm not saying that there's any sort of conspiracy against St. Pauli. It's just frustrating because this is why VAR is there, to take these per refereeing decisions out of the game, and it doesn't seem to be working.
One thing going into this, I did not expect a goalless draw. So 0-0 was not on the cards at all. I think we won 1-0 last time. But then the three games prior to that was 4-2, 4-3, and 4-2 or something. Thanks to Pauli scoring 4 times in each. So for it to go from so many goals to 1-0 and then 0-0, it's maybe that's a sign of the times. Because I think we beat them 1-0 after the winter break last year as well. So yeah, it's a bit mad.
I think all in all, though, it was a good performance. You can't take anything away from the players. If they didn't have a 7 or 8 out of 10 performance, they at least tried really hard and fought for each other, which is a good sign. I think we're moving in the right direction anyway. It's just it's obvious for everyone to see the problem is goal scoring, and it's a big problem.
Yeah, I mean,
if we fix that, I'm confident that we'll start getting more points on the board.
That's for sure. I mean, I think it's 11 points in 10 games or something, so it's pretty dire. I mean, this point last year, we were on 25 plus or something. Like I can't remember exactly, but we were undefeated, that's for sure, and absolutely flying. But that's last season. This is this season, so shut up, Trev. One thing worth mentioning as well was the fans were awesome again, like constantly like between each other, like shouting and cheering the boys on from start to finish. That was great to see and hear.
Yeah,
because you weren't at the game, right? You're back in Ireland, but
yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't make it. Can't at least the first home game I missed this year is a 0-0, so I didn't miss any goals. Slight bit of satisfaction in that, but obviously would have loved to get the 3 points, but I'll be back at the Millen Tour for the big derby. Sort of shit myself about this one, actually.
I mean, in the run into the winter pause right now, so the winter break, I think there's games are going to be coming thick and fast because the season ends mid-November, ready for the sham of a World Cup. So it's going to be game after game after game. So I think we've got 8 games or something, including the Pokal, before the winter break. So if this is a springboard performance-wise, yes, no goals again, but performance-wise going into it, then that'd be good. Yeah, but we've done this before. We played well against Paderborn or something, or Hanover, and they just absolutely shat the bed the next game and lost to Regensburg or something. So who knows?
It's normally consistency is is the key. It's you don't really want to draw any conclusions from this performance, as you said, because they can so easily go into the next one and look like a completely different team, which happens with a young squad. Like the average age of our starting lineup was like 24 or something, which is quite young.
I mean, well, speaking of which, we're up next against Braunschweig, and we've got 2 huge games with HSV and Freiburg, right? So it's now or never. Like, because if we lose against HSV and we lose against Freiburg out the cup, even if we beat Braunschweig, it's going to be a cloud of gloom hanging over our heads. So
yeah, the Braunschweig match is. It might
we'll just focus on that one for
just,
now, of course, but yeah.
Yeah. So if you just have a glance at the table, you might think that this is a handy away fixture to get 3 points before the derby. But if you check the form, so they're sitting like 16th in the table, Braunschweig. But if you check the form table, they're in much better form than St. Pauli. They're currently 7th in the form table. We're all the way down in 16th. They have conceded.
Got a lad up front as well who scored 4 in 8 games. So Anthony Uja up top. So you're gonna have to keep an eye on him.
He's had 4 in his last 4, so he's in great form.
Right. So there we go. We've pinpointed the target man to pay attention to.
Yeah, got to keep him quiet. And they sort of, I think they sort of sit back and let their opposition have the ball, because they've got the lowest average possession in the league on 39, which is really not a lot. 39% possession, and this is we mentioned earlier, this has been a problem for St. Pauli this season, where other teams will let them have the ball.
Yeah,
they'll soak up some pressure. There'll be a turnover in the final third, and all of a sudden we're getting countered. So that's something to be wary of, because I think that's what Uja thrives off of, those fast breaks on the counter. And we've seen it multiple times where we'll lose possession and there'll just be a ball over our back line, and then they're in. I think it was against Hansa, was it?
Yeah, they just did it
at will. Yeah,
yep.
It was so frustrating. So
well, one thing that concerned me a little bit yesterday, I don't know whether you picked up on it, was Nemeth and his balance. Did you notice that?
I noticed it. Then there was one time where he got absolutely sent to the shops in the box, where the Heidenheim player sort of cut back and he was on ice and he left him for dead. And that's whenever he smashed it against the bar, isn't it?
Beck, yeah. But there was other times, even when he wasn't under pressure, like the ball's coming to him as Medic and Nemeth to pass it between themselves, and then he's being closed down a little bit by the Heidenheim attacker, just, as you do, routine like. And he's losing his footing and nearly falling over and nearly passed it back to the goalkeeper, like hospital pass styly, or is it short and stuff. So I don't know, it's a little bit concerning. He's like, I think it's happened a few times where in previous games where poor headers and such, as he's backpedaling and falling over it, maybe he needs new boots. Like if there's any boot sponsors out there that can get Nemeth some proper boots, that'd be good, because it seems like he's, I should say, on ice sometimes.
But aside from that, I thought he had a good game.
Yeah, no, he controlled the game really well, and he was doing those incisive passes forwards too. But a little bit concerning it's just something I picked up on, that he was losing his balance or panicking a wee bit under little pressure. So maybe that's nothing, maybe it's something, I don't know.
So do you have a score prediction for the Braunschweig match?
Oh shit! Am I going first, or can I just copy you and add a goal either side? I think it's going to be. I think they will score one. Just thinking about our defence and how, yes, we just had a clean sheet, but that doesn't guarantee anything really. Although looking at it, they've only scored 11 this season. They've actually scored fewer than us, so they've conceded 20. So I was going to say 2-1 to St. Pauli.
That's what I was thinking, actually. Because as you said, Braunschweig have conceded 20, which is the second most in the league this season. So I think I'm confident we'll get on the score sheet at least.
Well, Jackson Edmonds coming back. Matanovic has suffered the crushing disappointment of not scoring a last-minute winner. So hopefully that kicks him up the ass, because I was so hoping that went in for him. Because, Colin Metcalf pulls it back. There he is. Just needs to crush it. One defender takes the sting out of it, and the other one clears off the line. So
unfortunate, yeah. So I rather than just copying you, because I thought 2-1 as well, I'll go 3-1. And I don't know why we haven't scored. Well, our last win against Magdeburg we scored 3.
It was 3. Yeah.
Let's hope
Egerstein with 2. Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to put any money on Egerstein scoring 2 in a game anymore.
No, certainly not. All right, then. Is there anything else you wanted to mention before we wrap things up here?
No, I mean, it's like I said, it feels like a step in the right direction. I'm hoping it's not 1 step forward, 2 steps back, but it genuinely felt like a progressive step forward. So we'll see what reigns true come this weekend against Braunschweig. But after that, there's 2 huge games as well. So, okay, we can only focus on 1 game at a time, but it just signaled the need for either Egerstein or Otto or Amanido or Matanovic or some fucker to start scoring. so otherwise we need to definitely enter the transfer market the very, very first day and sign a striker immediately.
Here. All right, Trev.
Cool.
Thanks.
Absolute pleasure. Have fun back home. Good to see your face. And maybe we should choreograph our wardrobe next time, just in case. But most people are hopefully listening and don't even know that we're both wearing grey hoodies.
Yeah, true.
Sweet.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you like what you hear, leave us a review, follow us on social media, and we'll be chatting to you again next week. Cheers.
Cool. Take care. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.